Pandemonium Reigns.
Hello, family and friends, and welcome to Pandemonium Reigns. We're so excited to be with you tonight. It is a fantastic day to be with you wherever you find yourself. Thank you for letting us tickle your ears. The statement of Pandemonium Reigns, the tickling of ears, which I'm pretty sure the Bible preaches against, but here we are.
Here we are, forsaking the Bible.
Forsaking it. Listen, y'all, don't go to church and listen to some false preacher and let him tickle your ears. Let us do that. Let us do that. That's what we are here for. Hey, man, let's talk Tennessee. But before we do, we need to remind the people that it's time to like and subscribe.
It is past time.
Like and subscribe. Pastime, subscribe and like. There's two pastimes in this country. American baseball and liking and subscribing to Pandemonium Reigns. Tennessee, 66. Route 66. Tigers, Cats, meow. 24. Before we get started, bro, I'm starting a timer. I'm putting 30 seconds on the clock. I'm throwing trivia at you. I know I did not prepare you for this. That's the fun of it. I'm going to ask the question, and then I'm going to start the clock. You've got 30 seconds. Name the 5 schools with tigers as the mascot. Go.
Clemson, Missouri, LSU.
You're 3.
I choke. The next one was there. That's why I can't think of maybe the other one. The next one was there, and it just left me.
15 seconds.
Oh, my gosh. This is how my brain works after 30, and it really started when I was 25. I'm done, man. I can't think of any more because number 4 was right there, and I lost it. So I'm done.
Wow. Auburn.
Oh my God.
And the 5th one was going to be the toughest, but I knew it was something that you could get. You want to take a shot in the dark?
No, because that's the one that prevented me from thinking of Auburn. Oh my gosh.
The Tigers of Memphis.
Yeah. Yep. Like my brain was rotating and it just died. Hardcore.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to softball pitch this to you because I know you've got some content. I know you're hot. I know you're spicy. I know you're feeling good about what I'm getting ready to pitch to you. Tennessee puts up 66 points on the board, and we've taken a little bit of flack for that. Saying it was unnecessary. It wasn't the nice thing to do. And for you woke people out there, shut up. And then I'll let Michael take it from here. Why was it okay that we hung 66 on the board? Talk to me.
Well, it's okay because if Tennessee was in the position last year where they beat Missouri and it was probably win number 4 or 5, I can't remember offhand, maybe 6. No, it had to be like 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
If that was the situation on Saturday, then, maybe I would have some sort of feeling about Tennessee throwing the deep shot. I'll say shots because there was one to Ramel Keaton that's just getting so overblown because of the absolute crescent moon, as you have dubbed it, to Squirrel White. But Tennessee needs the freaking style points. They need to impress people.
Mm-hmm.
And my God, did they ever?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I think we've even talked about this, but not enough. But I'm sitting here soaking up this season because worst case, Tennessee has 3 games left. Best case, Tennessee has 4 games left. It's winding down quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The end of the regular season is going to be a snoozer at 7:30 p.m. against Vanderbilt. And
let's hope so.
I'm excited. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited for this week against South Carolina because I want to see 66 more points. But I'm trying to relish this season, how wonderful and unexpected it's been. And I mean, they have an opportunity to put up 66. And I'm sitting here relishing what we've got left of this season. And now I am struggling to keep my mind off of Joe Milton to Ramel Keaton and Squirrel White, whoever else, because this staff can seemingly use any receiver in the building to do it with. Milton, dude, is just dropping it in the bucket. He's done it in every game this year. He did it in 0 games last year, seemingly.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got me excited for next season for one, while I'm sitting here trying to relish everything. Like I said, 3-4 games left, best and worst case scenario. Tennessee needs the style points, man. They got to make statements. The committee said as much in the first or second, outing. They say it every time because it's going to come down to, if Tennessee gets in, it'll be over a conference champ with maybe one loss. USC, North Carolina, Clemson, take your pick. They need the style points. Then you got Eli Drinkwitz running that mouth. Jim Rome saying that he took an axe to Rocky Top back in July, talking about hoping his record improves because of vacated wins. And I'm just blushing almost thinking about if that was my coach saying that, how embarrassed I would be.
Woof.
But here's the one that really gets me. And this is from Jason Lisk. He's got a check mark next to his name on Twitter. He said, is there a backstory to why Tennessee just did what they did at the end of the game? Or does Heupel want karma to come back on him? Then you've got Chris Falca, the Bear, as you probably know him from Game Day. I genuinely want to know how the coaches on the committee will feel about that. That is a ridiculous statement. He goes on to say, look, I'm all for letting your backups play, but this feels like a little much. It's ridiculous to even ask about it. Number one, the guy that asked about it that I saw, there's been many others talk about it. It's made its rounds in today's world of social media for sure. If the committee has anything to say about it, I'm going to be like hunting down some committee members, dude. They have absolutely no room to talk. It is set up this way with 4 teams, as it should be, but it's set up this way to where you're going to need some style points. You got to make some statements to get in. Eli Drinkwitz even went on to say in his postgame that, I think both coaches said something along the lines of, they're coaching their team, we're coaching our team. We couldn't stop them. Eli Drinkwitz didn't even have a public issue with it, but you've got these morons in today's Charmin soft world. I almost cussed right there, man. I'm just telling you. Woo. Charmin soft world that are worried about Tennessee hanging, 66, throwing it deep. Make your statement, dude. You got to get in. You got to make a case to get in when you lose a game and your destiny is no longer in your own hands.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not even going to take the opportunity to piggyback off that because getting into the playoffs is what everybody is playing for at this moment.
Literally.
With this loss against Georgia going against us, we don't get the chance to go to Atlanta. We don't get a chance to play for a conference championship, unlike a TCU who's going to be doing that, who we are arguably fighting with and competing with for that third or fourth spot. I mean, who knows how that Week 14 Michigan-Ohio State game is going to unfold, and are they going to hang on to both of those guys and allow them both to be in? So yeah, run up. And second thing, I have 2 more comments on this. The second thing is, man, just run your offense. I mean, this is what you do. And so well, like if the point is just to get Milton in there, just to take snaps, then why not do that for Taven Jackson and get him like game experience, I guess. But it's obvious, along with another point that I'm about to make, that Milton is the guy next year.
Oh, man, absolutely.
And Squirrel White and Ramel Keaton are going to be a big part of that offense. So get some chemistry built while you can.
Yeah, like get that Hendon Hooker to Cedric Tillman that was there early this season and was obviously there last season. Get that going. Right. Because Tillman won't be back. Hooker will not be back. Hyatt probably won't be back. I mean, if he does, he's borderline crazy at this point. But get that chemistry going like you're saying.
Well, I don't know why you wouldn't. So it's a chemistry deal. It's a stating your case deal, and did I say chemistry already? And it's a matter of just running your offense. Like this is what we do. And I would say, this is kind of the same, kind of not the same. I mean, you know this, but I commissioned NCAA football dynasties, with you in these leagues for forever. And the thing defensively was, if you don't like what they're doing, stop it.
Stop it. Yeah.
So, and that's really all I have to say about it. And it's just utterly ridiculous.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know what? I mean, college football, especially in this playoff world, is not the let's be Mr. Nice Guy. No. Because if we do that, if we pull a foot off the gas, the committee's going to look at that and say, oh, well, they let up, they allowed,
absolutely.
They allowed this, they allowed that, I mean, are they deserving, as opposed to keeping our foot on Eli Drinkwitz's throat and saying, yeah, you're not going to get up from this one, bro. It's nothing personal. We're just trying to get in, right?
Yeah.
Just trying to get in.
Yeah. And you just made me think of this because ever since last week when the playoff committee put TCU ahead of Tennessee, which in theory, on paper, I have no problem with. My issue is that they were behind Alabama the week prior. That's all I've got with that. But my point is Tennessee's in this and long has been danged if you do, danged if you don't. So if you play the nice guy role, if you just run the ball there or take knees or whatever, it's they struggled with Missouri well into the third quarter. Look how close this game was. They're obviously not this, they're not that. And now Tennessee has scored so many points and didn't play the nice guy card that it's they're the root of all evil and this and that. So, and while we're on TCU, I saw this. I was just doing a quick search of things, that we need to talk about before the pod. I hadn't even mentioned this to you, but we mentioned TCU a couple times, both of us. Wes Rucker tweeted this out. TCU has beaten 4 bowl-eligible teams by an average margin of 6.7 points. Tennessee has beaten 6 bowl-eligible teams by an average of 22 points. So, like I said, on paper, I get it. TCU's undefeated. They're in line for a conference championship if they handle business. But they, even against Texas this week, we're not, and we'll talk about it in our non-Orange cast, but they weren't all that convincing is all. So absolutely play the game out, be as convincing as you possibly can to me. I didn't play the game, but the game of football that is, but I can't disagree with if you can't stop it, then that's on you.
I mean, absolutely. And there is I almost said a stat. It's not necessarily a stat. There is going to be a document that comes across the table of the committee, and it's going to say Tennessee hung 66 points on the 13th best defense in the country. So why would you not hang all that you can? And again, it's not personal. It's not like, oh, we're just running it up because, oh, you watch this. I think, listen, Heupel seems to be a really good dude, right? And I think that's 100%. Showing in the culture. It's showing amongst players. They're taking on the identity of Heupel. I just have to believe that Heupel's looking at Eli going, dude, it ain't got nothing to do with you, bro. It ain't you were just the next team on the list. And in addition to that, I have to believe that Heupel is looking at guys like Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman after they just took one on the mouth the week before, right, against Georgia, and saying, hey, I need you guys to get your confidence back up.
Absolutely.
So, sorry, Missouri. It ain't because it's you. It's just because you were next. I mean, that's really all it is. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, just a ridiculous conversation. We have to address it because it's been making its rounds, and it's just the weakest thing to me, the absolute weakest thing.
Yeah. So speaking of Joe Milton, just real quick, because this is a Tennessee podcast, this is especially an Orange cast. Joe Milton comes in, throws 3 attempts, gets 3 completions, 105 yards, and a score. Just want to say it because I don't give a crap. That's 4 yards shy of what Will Levis did on 11 completions and 1 more touchdown and 1 less pick.
Yeah.
Bro did that on what, 2 possessions?
Yes, 2 possessions. The last 2 of the game, he throws again, we're not talking about it because the one to Squirrel White was just such a bomb, but the ball to Ramel Keaton, dude, was like, it was perfect.
Bro, I just want to remind you of a text that I sent you on the bomb to Squirrel White. This guy releases this ball from the -35. It flies up and over the moon, lands in the hands of Squirrel White, who catches it around the 5. I think that's good for 60 yards in the air. And he made it look easy with pressure right in his face. Yeah,
it was that worst case scenario where the pressure is just closing in. It's not necessarily one guy coming to pop him in the mouth or him, even like from his blind side. Mm-hmm. It's just closing in on him. Yeah. And dude truly just chucks it. I mean, just flicks the wrist and it drops into the bucket at the 5-yard line for Squirrel White.
Yes.
Golly, man, that was just ridiculous.
Yes. So while we're on the topic of the passing game, we're going to get to Hyatt. We're going to get to Hooker. I'm sure Squirrel White's name will be mentioned again. We're going to talk about Ramel Keaton. We've got some things to say about him, potentially on another whole show. But I just want to say that Brew McCoy is a dog.
He is a dog, dude.
He is physical at the line of scrimmage. Like, I love to watch guys press him because his hands are so violent.
Yes.
His ability to rip and swim, his ability to come back to the ball, to secure it, his hands, dude. It's going to be real fun potentially watching him next season being wide receiver 1.
Absolutely.
Even though Ramel Keaton is making a case for that. Squirrel White is they've got a play in for him and Joe Milton called Crescent Moon. But Brew McCoy, like, he's just that guy where when Hooker is in trouble, he's coming back. His situational awareness is just mind blowing, matched with his physicality, matched with his hands, and the dude's got legs like Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, he's got a body like a freaking running back. I mean,
absolutely.
So
I can't wait to see that frame because it's we haven't talked about it really, but it's super impressive that he's held up and performed as well as he had. I mean, he had 9 receptions on Saturday for over 100 yards, 111. Yeah, 111. If it wasn't for Joe Milton still in the show at the end, if it wasn't for Senior Day and these guys that have been here for so long, for Hendon Hooker's last game in Neyland, we could like arguably dub this the Brew McCoy game because he was like a constant for Missouri to try to deal with. And Hooker, obviously knows he can trust him. And like I said, I can't wait to see, because he came in late to this season's process. I think it was a poorly kept secret that he was going to be at Tennessee. But again, I can't wait to see that body of his, with a year under the belt and the strength and conditioning back in, just no doubt football shape, football all the time. It's obviously, like I said, he kept himself in pretty good shape to be able to hold up this well over, almost the entire season at this point. But I can't wait to see that frame, maybe add a little speed, maybe trim it down a little bit, and just fine tune it, man, because he's, like I said, well trusted now. Everything you said, I agree with. The way he works back to the ball is fantastic. And it takes a just committee to tackle him unless it's, Georgia, who doesn't miss tackles.
For sure. I mean, the NFL scouts are just drooling when he's standing at 6'3", 220 pounds, and he runs the way he does, rotates his hips the way that he does. I mean, I don't want to speak this into existence, but he's making a case for a high draft grade.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't participate in Senior Day because he's only a junior, but don't be surprised if he comes out. Would love to see him come back. Would love to see him be wide receiver number 1.
Absolutely.
Now, we're going to roll the Jeopardy music metaphorically here in just a second. But I'm going to ask you and our listening audience, go ahead and take about 5-10 seconds and tell me, do you know about how many yards he has on the season?
Dang, man. If I had just a little bit more forethought, I would have clicked his name real quick, because you can't see my hands, you can't see my phone. I would have just checked it. So I'm going to have to really, really guess here. I promise my hands are up. Hands are up. I'm not looking. I'm only looking at the 111 he had on Saturday.
Yeah.
But considering that this is not his first 100-yard game and that he's had some pretty good performances here and there trickled in with it, 475.
Wow. That's low.
Oh, gosh. I figured it would be. That was my fear, but I didn't want to be like 800, 600 yards. Wow.
600 yards, only good for 2 scorers, but
yeah.
I mean, with the way that Hyatt has found the end zone, it's kind of,
honestly.
I mean, your biggest competition is not the defense you're going against; it's Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah,
45 catches, 600 yards, 2 scores. Anyway, just a freaking dog. So transitioning to Jalen Hyatt now, 7 catches, 146 yards. He only needed 30 yards going into this game to eclipse 1,000. He was like 30. Watch this. Let me add 116 to that, and I'll get into the end zone. Watch this. The play where they hide him underneath the guard and the tackle. I mean, it's not like he was squatting all that low, and I mean, he stands decently tall at 6 foot, but they just they had like, oh crap, like they didn't know he was back there.
Yeah,
and they just wheeled him out.
And it's crazy because Brew kind of like runs a similar or the same route, but Jalen's got that speed to break outside quicker, and the entire defense is looking the other way. Austin Burlage, I can't remember how you pronounce his name, did a fantastic thread on this on Twitter. If you just go look him up, but basically that play before was Sampson, bringing him in or motioning him out for like, the swing, the screen there, getting almost a first down on that. And then probably as fast as Tennessee will ever go, they get into this play. And like you said, I mean, it's just miraculous how they hide him. I don't know how you hide someone this deep into a season when he's, was 30 yards away from 1,000 coming in. He had 14 touchdowns coming into the game. I don't know how you hide that person at all.
Yeah.
But Tennessee did it. And Brew McCoy blocked like a champ on that play.
Yeah.
Once the ball was, caught, just perfection, perfect scheme on that play.
So Courtney and I went to Wild Wing Cafe later that night, and there is a Tennessee guy. He's wearing a Tennessee shirt, and he's sitting with his wife, who I'm assuming is his wife, and she's wearing a Vanderbilt shirt, which that's the first ever Vanderbilt fan I've ever seen in my life. Never seen one before.
Yeah.
Like, they do exist, apparently. But I sit down, and he spots my Tennessee hoodie, and he says, "How do you not know where Jalen Hyatt's at?" Before the ball snapped. He didn't say hi to me. He didn't say, "Oh man, GBO." He just looks at me, throws his hands up. He said, How do you not know where Jalen Hyatt's at on the field?" And I'm like, and I knew exactly what he's talking about.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, how do you do that? But what's so beautiful about that, and something I've been waiting to mention to you, is I'm pretty sure that was the 3-play scoring drive.
It was like 2 or 3. Yeah.
It was either 2 or 3. Needless to say, the plays that were ran before that on that possession were set up for that play.
100%.
Most coordinators will spend drives setting up a deep shot like that. Yeah. Alex Golish did it in 2 to 3 plays.
Yeah.
And that was just fascinating. And credit to who's the guy who's not getting enough credit for that scoring for that score on Jalen Hyatt on that play is Dylan Sampson.
Oh yeah.
In the plays before that, they caught his attention, right? Because he showed off some speed, and now he's flashing across. He's running across the right side of the formation. That ball is snapped. Hyatt is sneaking out the left side down the left sideline. All eyes were on Sampson, and there goes that man, Jalen Hyatt, right?
Unbelievable.
So let's shift gears now. Talked about Jalen Hyatt. Hand him to Biletnikoff, please.
Yeah. All day.
And Dylan Sampson. Let's talk about Dylan Sampson for a second. To me, that performance that he had, 8 carries, 98 yards, good for 12 yards per carry and a score with a long of 42. Did that not feel to you the way Eric Gray Vanderbilt 2019 did?
It totally did. Absolutely it did. I mean, we've heard about his playmaking ability, even against the ones in, before the season even started, scrimmages, when good on good, or if you will, that felt like a coming out party, man. I didn't know this. That was actually his 5th touchdown of the season. I didn't realize he'd accumulated 4 to that point already.
Wow. Right.
But dude, I mean, he showed some vision, over the course of the time he was in the game, he showed some very nice vision. He showed off the speed that we've heard that he has. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not exactly just the easiest guy to bring down. I mean, he was wiggly.
Yeah.
And just, gosh, dude, it's crazy that we're in a 1-loss season right now on a crash course if things don't go just straight to hell for 11-1. Yeah. And I am so freaking excited about the future beyond because of these guys like Sampson. Yeah. All the other, Small and Wright coming back. Joe Milton just throwing it to the moon and dropping it in the bucket. I mean, the future looks so freaking bright right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just remarkable. But yeah, absolutely. Not to get too big picture there. It reminded me of that as well. Felt like a coming out party, honestly, because we've seen him against Akron, and we've seen him, with those little option features that they would do and things like that. And I think they even ran one of those. Hooker kept it for a huge gain, but I mean, yeah, dude, it felt like a coming out party. I think he's going to be a fantastic volunteer.
I'm really excited about him. He has me all sorts of excited. Now, I am excited to have Jabari Small and Jalen Wright back next year. And just to compliment those two for a second, running back by committee, dudes are getting it done. You could argue that they're a little bit undersized in this conference, but they run hard. So I hate to see those guys go when they do go, but can you imagine the thunder lightning 1-2 punch if Justin Williams Thomas can get it figured out? That body with the speed of contrasted with the speed of a Dylan Sampson.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
There's a word that comes to daddy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy the stuff that pops in my head, but one of our conversations when we were doing our projections preseason was that at UCF one year, that one of the years that Heupel was there, they just had like a 4-man rotation of running backs. No one, was like a 10, 1,000, 1,200 yard rusher, but they had a fierce, like I want to say at least threesome or foursome of running backs. And the yards per carry was stupid. The number of touchdowns they scored was stupid. And like I said, it just, especially with Jabari and Jalen coming back, it feels like that's what we could be heading for. If Joe Milton isn't out here, overthrowing the Taliban and Russia.
Yeah. Hey, just to so
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I was getting ready to segue, and then Vladimir Putin just pops into our podcast, right?
Oh man.
So just props to Jabari Small and Jalen Wright, because those dudes together accumulate over 1,000 yards, 537 for Small, 598 for Wright, and
nice.
And just so tickled for those dudes.
Oh, absolutely.
I think traditionally, you and I probably want to see one guy hit 1,000, just for the sake of the way that number looks on paper, right? But man, they're doing it, and they're proving that they're good enough to get it done. And I mean, I'm so pleased with those guys. One more thing offensively before we move on. Oh no, two things.
And I've got something as well, but go ahead.
Okay. I just want to put my hands together for Princeton Fant and make
my goodness,
one heck of a catch. And
that was so nice.
Yeah, that felt like this, and that's right there. Here's how I want to say this. That right there is kind of what college football is all about. Talk about a guy who's jumped from position to position, right? Who couldn't find a home, lands a home under the Heupel offense, and on his last day in Neyland, goes out and makes a grab like he did. He's good for a rushing touchdown this year, for a passing touchdown this year, and a reception touchdown. And it seems like it couldn't have happened to a better dude. So
completely
happy
agreed
for Princeton Fant, hoping that he can. I hope he rushes Saturday for 200.
Man,
what I'm saying?
Yeah. South Carolina's toying with Jaheim Bell at running back because they can't get him the ball as a tight end. So yeah, I hope he goes in and shows them how it's done.
Yeah. So you said you had some offensively as well?
Yes. And just on Dylan Sampson real quick before we move on from that too far. The game was 28-24 when I think that was the drive when Hyatt scored the touchdown we talked about when Sampson came in for the first time. And I say that because he came in the second half of a 4-point SEC game. The last time we've really seen him was at LSU, I want to say, when, he had a rough play there when Hendon got obliterated on a blitz that he probably should have seen. But I'm just saying it because it's nice to see him in a big moment, honestly, because you and I were texting. I know we weren't the only Vol fans out there that were a little concerned when they make it 28-24 in the second half.
Oh, yeah.
When Brady Cook is doing things and that we'll talk about in a minute, like that look like last year's defense against running quarterbacks. So yeah, that was a huge moment for him to come in, and just makes me feel really good. Like they may be actually starting to trust him, or they know they had a boost in him that they could get in that moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I for sure. Really excited about Sampson's upside, and would not be surprised to see him get more times, more snaps, more carries this year.
Right? Absolutely.
Especially, you would love to see this going into South Carolina and Vanderbilt if he can bear more of a load. And if we're staring at the playoffs, keep Small and Wright fresh for that.
Yeah.
Last thing offensively before we switch over, we talked about Milton with his QBR at a perfect 100. At a perfect 100. But there goes Hendon Hooker. There goes that man. And
dude,
love that his last game in Neyland Stadium was capped off statistically the way it was, but also that he finally led the band.
Absolutely.
And the fact of that, if you are not a Tennessee fan listening to this podcast, for one, thank you for staying with us this far. But two, that tells you right there exactly what this school thinks of him, what this fan base thinks of him, what his teammates think of him. Because the last time that has happened was Dobbs.
I think so. I think so.
I think you're talking about a small handful of people in our lifetime who have done this. Hendon Hooker, Dobbs. I'm pretty sure Dobbs did it.
Yeah.
Casey Clausen.
I think so. Yeah.
And Peyton Manning.
Yeah. And Hendon talked about always wanting to do that because he had seen Peyton Manning do that. And dude, as if I needed a reason to love the guy more. I mean, he's over here talking about traditional things that, was iconic at Tennessee with Peyton leading the band back in the day. And I think we even talked about it, you and I, maybe not on the pod, but wanting to see him do it after that Florida, after the Bama game was unrealistic because of the field conditions, but after the Florida game, maybe especially the game that he had against Florida. But it means a lot to me, as much as I already love him, that he was aware of that, how cool he thought it was, that was his goal to do it.
Yeah.
And then again, with my eyes towards the future, Joe Milton's over there, just having himself a time dancing in the background in all the videos that you see. Or if you're looking at Hendon's back, Joe Milton's right there, basically the base of the ladder, just having the time of his life, dude. I mean, chemistry is top notch right now. Things are just so far ahead of where we thought. And like I said, means so much to me. And I'm sure it does to you as well, that how much that meant to Hendon Hooker, because he ain't been here that long and he's just changed everything. Things have changed drastically under him.
Yep. So he went 25 for 35, 355 yards, 3 touchdowns, QBR good for 95.4, carried it 8 times for 50 yards in the score. Now the problem with that is, did all the guys who have a Heisman vote watch that game?
Yeah.
Okay. That's probably a issue. But here's the good news. If they didn't watch it, they can go back to that stat sheet and say, oh, dang.
No questions here.
And like it was mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, against the 13th best defense in the country, not the conference, in the country.
Yeah.
And but before we move on, props to Mizzou. I mean, I think they changed my opinion on them, who they are, what they're capable of. I've been saying for weeks that Georgia-Missouri game was a result of Georgia's just not being able to get up. And I think there's still a lot of truth to that.
Sure.
But I think Mizzou also said a case of like, hey, when we come in hot, like, we're coming in hot, bro. And we're going to hit you. I do think they caught Georgia sleepwalking just a little bit.
Yeah.
Props to that defense.
Props to them. Like, my opinion of them definitely changed. They were patient with their offense up until the time that the game got out of hand, which credit to Tennessee's defense for taking steps and the offense for basically not missing a beat in the second half. The only thing unfortunate for Missouri, and I forgot that I want to talk about this as well, is they will forever be associated with, as of right now, the most yardage that Tennessee's put up in a game at 724, as well as for now the most points that this era has seen. It was 66 points when they gave up 62 a year ago. But yeah, I mean, credit to them. Like, I know that things really unwound on them, but I was impressed because Cook was patient. I mean, he did force some throws that probably should have been picked off, but he was patient. They stuck with probably, I think, what was their game plan up until, they just couldn't anymore.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and switch to the defensive side of the ball. It seems like you're there already.
Yeah.
That's fair enough?
That's fair.
As we switch to talking about the Tennessee defense and the Missouri offense, let me take this time to remind you guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, please like and subscribe. That's all I've got for that. But make sure you do it. Otherwise, I will find you and I'll burn your house down. After the Kentucky game, I thought, okay, we can play the pass.
Yeah.
And we've been solid on run defense. Coming out of this Missouri game, I kind of throw my hands up again saying, what is the Tennessee defense?
Yeah.
And I'm just not really sure, because is it one of the, have we reached that place of tier one where we get everybody's best? Is that what's happening? I mean, because we're now a top 5 team in the country, got to play Tennessee. Circle that one. We got to bring it, boys. Everything to lose for them, everything to gain for us. Yeah, I mean, is that what's going on? Because the Missouri offense has been abysmal.
Yeah.
At best. And here comes Brady Cook, right? And
yeah.
And my gosh, 16 carries, 106 yards, right?
Yeah.
Decently well, through the air, 19 completions, good for 217 yards and 2 scores, a high QBR at 83.3. But I'm just looking at this and I'm going, what the heck? I don't understand what is the Tennessee defense.
No, I don't either. To an extent, I think Tennessee at the least has way more attention than you maybe would have considered going into the year. Even at the beginning of the year, you're worried about the tempo of the offense. You know that Hooker is just as tenured of a veteran and safe with the ball and can be explosive as much as anyone in the nation. You know those things, but you definitely didn't see, again, Tennessee being at one loss come their, 9th game or 10th game of the season. So I think there's definitely an aspect of that. I also think at the same time that an offense like Missouri's, where, again, so much misdirection with the play action, a dangerous, is dangerous the right word? It might be too strong, but a capable runner at quarterback like Brady Cook, which, Brady Cook is to Missouri on a much smaller scale, essentially what Stetson Bennett, the way that Stetson Bennett loves Georgia, that is Brady Cook's feel for Missouri, because he's from there. It means that much to him. He's going to be a good quarterback if he's not already one. He can improve, but he's going to be a good quarterback, I think. But again, I think that misdirection, that kind of, if you're not getting pressure on them, they're allowed to do the slow developing play action, rollout elements of it. You don't know if he's going to keep it or if he's going to throw it. I think that's just a bad matchup for Tennessee. Not that Tennessee's defense is so good that many matchups are great for them, but I think there's a case that it's a bad matchup for Tennessee. There is some talent and speed with Luther Burden, with Cook having legs, that he was, they roughed up Tennessee's rush number on average with like 172. Here it is total. Mm-hmm. But again, 106 of that is Brady Cook, and he was impressive running the ball, but the leading running back was 10 for 25. So, I mean, that's pretty much par for the course for where Tennessee's been.
Mm-hmm. That was the Tennessee defense. That was one of the more frustrating games for me. I was so frustrated. I mean, especially after that touchdown pass to Burden. I don't know. I can't. I keep coming back to this thought. Well, it's got to be because we hung 66 points and we didn't punt, right? I mean, I say that we didn't punt figuratively, like we just don't punt a lot. we get in the end zone, and the short amount of snaps as we're getting into the end zone. I'm like, okay, well that's got that. Of course, that has to play into it. But at the same time, I felt like Mizzou scored about 10 more points than what I thought they should have.
Agreed. Now, I wanted to mention this, and this is a great moment to mention it. The 4th down conversion that they turned into like a 43-yard touchdown, there it is, was the worst defense Tennessee's played maybe all year, and wrapped up in one play, where brilliant play call, good job on Missouri executing it, but McCullough should have, at the worst, blown the guy up, if not made a play on the ball. Turnage got lost. I understand he's looking into the backfield, but I give him that. It's play action. That's what it's meant to do for a guy in that position. But McCullough had no business playing the ball the way that he did. Maybe he was a little late getting there, and I'm just remembering it this way. But he had a chance to at least lay a big hit on the guy that's looking up for the ball, trying to locate it. Turnage, like I said, got ran by. But, that definitely shouldn't have been 7 points. They may have scored on it later because it was a 4th down conversion. But that's about as bad as Tennessee's played defense on one play wrapped up in for the whole year.
Agreed. And the way it unfolded, the bumping into one another, allowing that, I felt like that score never should have happened.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I don't feel like that's a reach or a stretch. I just don't feel like that should have happened.
Yeah.
But defensively, I'm just gonna throw a couple names out there, and you just piggyback. I'm still in love with Aaron Beasley. I love his physicality. I love what he brings to the table. I love the possibility of potentially having him back for 23. Absolutely love him. And I just want to say the way that we talked about Princeton Fant, kind of want to say the same thing about Tyler Barron. Like, hey, man, dude, good for you. You got home. You were in the backfield a couple different times. You were able to get home one time on a sack. You are only a junior, but I don't feel I'm coming at this from a different light than I said I would as when I was comparing him to Princeton Fant. I mean, when you come in at 6'5", 260 and you have the speed and acceleration that you do when they're moving you inside, outside, I do just feel like you're underperforming.
Yeah, just a little. Yep, just some.
As a whole, I was excited to see you finally get home. I'm going to use that to segue into a guy I am so excited about as we talk about the future. Barron was one of two guys to get home for a sack. The other guy, James Pierce.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I am so excited for this guy. He's hungry. Like when he gets in, like he wants it. This is not garbage time for him. It doesn't seem like not according to his body language anyway. When he wants in the backfield. He wants to make a statement. He wants to make a play. And the dude is 6'5" and a lean 220 with his hand in the dirt. And that's what blows my mind because Barron is 6'5", 260.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for James Pierce, though.
Oh man,
I'm jacked for this guy.
Having Pierce and Josephs, just having them be in the same class is so big because their entire careers are just going to be, right there alongside each other. Whether maybe one of them leaves early down the road, goes to the league, I don't know. But we're going to get 3 or 4 years of those guys maybe coming off of opposite edges. I don't know. Or being, one's featured here and there, the other one's used in the other moments. But having them in the same class, dudes that they just have that right now, like you said, lean body type with speed off the edge. That's what Tennessee's been missing. And Tennessee certainly has needed more on the interior of the defensive line as well. And they've got it this year. They've got pretty good play out of they've got Omari Thomas's best football of his career. They're getting things out of DJ Terry, which is phenomenal, which is awesome because of where he came from and everything. Even Latrell Bumpus, Barron's occasionally successful on the inside. But again, having those guys that are that lean build, that have that speed off the edge is what's, I think, really going to cause problems over the course of 3 or 4 years. And here I go looking forward again. But yeah, man, when he gets in there, he's like, I may not have many opportunities this season. I'm going to make the most of it.
Yeah.
And that is just what he does every time he's in there.
Yeah. And I mean, we're potentially looking at him being a starter next year. It's either going to be him or Joseph's on that side, right? I mean, because
I would think so.
Because it's probably going to be Barron returning on that opposite end. But
I do think Roman Harrison will be back. So, maybe
Roman
he'll
Harrison,
have a bigger role.
Yep.
But I mean, at the same time, we're seeing bursts out of those guys that we maybe haven't seen and definitely haven't seen consistently from Roman Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
So, dude, it's just gonna be so fun to watch. I talked about getting Brew in the weight room and strength and conditioning for a year with those guys, man. And again, for 2 or 3, at least 2, if not 3 more years of that is going to be special.
Yeah. Keeping it on the defensive side, Christian Charles made a return, getting this. Did he get the start? I'm drawing a blank here.
I want to say Turnage and Slaughter might have started at corner.
Correct. Yep. And he came in. He came in still pretty early, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on his return, how he did, or that if you just want to talk about the corners as a whole?
Yeah. And when we talked about the play where Missouri converted the 4th down a few minutes ago, this popped in my mind of how bad that Luther Burden touchdown where he got the ball early there, swinging it out, how bad of a matchup that is for the Nico Slaughter that's new to the position and, been playing all over the defensive secondary. I thought the defensive backs were okay. Nothing great, but I do remain encouraged by they're getting closer. When a Brady Cook or when Will Levis or someone throws it in their vicinity, they're making better breaks on the ball. I feel like
That's a good point.
Especially Brandon Turnage. I mean, earlier in the year, we were just like, "Where's he at?" Everybody was.
He left two. He left two on the field.
He did. He sure did. But just the way maybe they're at this point, it's clicking better. I don't know. But again, I think there's going to be matchups like that Burden matchup for Slaughter that's just not ideal at all. Like we saw it against Georgia with McConkey and, a technical receiver or one that's just has a ton of wiggle. Won't be a great matchup for him.
Yeah.
But again, overall, wasn't their worst game to me. I mean, yeah, it was frustrating because of Missouri's offense and, again, just how they send so many guys in different directions and there's always a guy sliding across, it seems like, with that play action, frustrating matchup. But, I think a fairly average game for them, kind of with the way this season's gone.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it funny how different those corners, all their personalities are? Because you've got a Haddon and a Charles who they don't want to get beat deep. They want to kind of stay on you, stay at your hip. They want to cover you well. Turnage wants the ball.
Oh yeah, Turnage wants the ball, man.
Danico wants the ball, and he wants
the ball, and he wants to decapitate you.
Yes, and he is willing. They are going to break on the ball, and I think they are okay with allowing the ball to get by them for a potential catch or for a potential big play. They are very aggressive.
That's a great point.
And Turnage really showed that on Saturday. He wants the ball.
Yeah.
He wants to get off the field. He wants to hold the ball up in the air. He wants to say, I have this, you don't.
Yeah.
Right? He strikes me as that personality, as opposed to a Haddon and a Charles who we're more bend, don't break. We're not going to let you, we don't really want you to do these sort of things. We're going to win as a unit. Turner's just like, bump that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And, just again, a guy that I'm going to be excited about. It's going to give me more reason for encouragement going into next year, where this year we were like, all right, we've got Warren Burrell. He's been here for a long time and, this and that. We've got Christian Charles that has never played the position before. We've got Haddon that we've seen at safety and inside. We don't really know what we've got, but I feel good about Brandon Turnage for next year. I think Slaughter will probably be looking at maybe a move back to safety next year, but man, with all the recruits coming in at that position, with all the freshmen that are there now, just again, another position that I'm going to be more encouraged about going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be weird seeing a Tennessee defense without Jalen McCullough and Trayvon Flowers in the backfield, but again, potentially we could see a return of Jalen McCullough as he did not participate in senior day, which I don't hate that.
I don't either because of that communication and, he is not usually going to get beaten over the top. He's going to get beaten on stuff where he maybe is late making a decision over the middle or in front of him. Mm-hmm. But that leadership and communication, I wouldn't be mad to have that for another year.
Yeah. I don't have too much left. I do want to, there's another player, and this is probably the first time I've ever done this. I'm going to highlight a non-Tennessee guy here. Luther, shoot, his name escapes me now. Burden. That dude's a baller. He's going to be playing on Sundays.
Oh yeah.
And I would love to see him, not because he's in the SEC East and we're going to see him annually. I'd love to see him somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
A select few places if it's not going to be Tennessee, but absolutely. I think he's got the potential of like to be used this way. I'm not saying he's this guy, but you could use him like Deebo Samuel. And I mean, arguably that's the way Missouri started their season. They were like, we're going to force this guy the ball out of the backfield, Wildcat quarterback. We don't care. He's getting the ball. Dude, I mean, I think he's got that capability of being used that way. If he has Deebo in him, we'll see. But he is a baller. I understand why they're so excited to have landed him and what a big deal it was to land him. And I'm with you, it'd be fun to see him in a more explosive type offense. And again, if he wore an orange jersey while doing it, that would be fine. but yeah, he's fun to watch.
Right?
He's going to be a baller. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go Beavs. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
I got you. Hey, there is a stat out here that I do want to throw out before we hop off here. We accumulated 724 yards of total offense. We were 28 for 38 passing amongst Hooker and Milton. We ran for 264 yards on 37 attempts.
7.1 per rush. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good. But there is a stat here that is just wrecking my world. And I had this in my notes for me to mention, and I'm just now remembering. We were 4 for 11 on third down.
Wow. That is bonkers. That is absolute 1 of 3 on fourth down. So, I mean, that's insane. Probably, it didn't feel like it, but I guess it was maybe one of Paxton Brooks' more busy days.
I reckon so. I mean, he at least punted twice, right?
I guess so. Let's see real quick. Paxton Brooks, where you at? 2 punts. Okay, so I was thinking more than that based on those numbers, but
yeah.
Wow, 4 of 11, not our best day, and I think that's where that Missouri defense is taking big steps. They've shown it against other teams, but and I think we established in our preview that 40 points to Kansas State in week 2 was the most they had given up. I mean that died hard on Saturday, but you can still see the steps that they've taken. I mean, last year I think Tennessee probably had 700, and this exaggeration, but I think Tennessee ran for about 700 yards last year alone. It felt like
Tyon Evans by himself, right?
Yeah,
on one play.
Yeah.
Had you told me going into the weekend, keeping in mind that it's the 13th best defense in the country, and you tell me we're going to go 4 for 11 on third down, I'm going to go, oh crap.
Yeah. I'm worried at that point.
It's either going to be like a 28-14 win, or it might even be a loss.
Yeah.
That 4 for 11 on third down is just mind-boggling.
Absolutely.
To turn around and accumulate 724 total yards of offense. Oh my gosh. So it's funny. As we start to hop off here, Joe Milton was scrolling through Twitter and he saw all the praise about Will Levis, and he was like, "Coach, put me in. I got something to say." He's like, "All right, what you want to run?" He was like, "What you mean? I want to run Crescent Moon. We're throwing that thing. We chucking that thing."
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. I'm excited. I was nervous going into this Missouri game. I'm a little more excited going into the South Carolina game.
Yeah.
As of right now, I think that Brady Cook is a better quarterback than Spencer Rattler. But I'm setting all that up to say this, even though that's kind of off topic. I have been fully expecting in these last 3 games, D. Williams to get a house call on a punt return. And there were several opportunities where I thought he's at least try to return this, and he just didn't want any part of it. So a little disappointed in that. I'm not sure if that was just a coaching decision, saying, "Hey, we don't need this. Just don't put the ball on the ground. Field it. Let's get our offense on the field." I'm not sure what was going on there, because I could think of at least 2 in my mind where I'm going, he's got space, and he was quick to fair catch it. So I'm banking. I would put some money on a D. Williams house call next Saturday, or one against Vanderbilt.
I absolutely would too. And I remember thinking that a couple times as well. Like, that was a quick trigger on the fair catch there, but probably a coaching move with the wet conditions earlier in the day. I think it didn't rain necessarily all day, but it was raining early on, and it probably, just a dreary day. And some of the times that I caught myself thinking that, I was like, well, they closed in really quick. At least, it doesn't make me feel too bad for him fair catching that. So,
I mean, there were some quick ones where they did close in quick, but I'm again, 2 off the top of my head where I'm going, you have space. Bro.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So. Probably just, as that game kind of maybe got closer, just like you said, don't put it on the ground. Don't give them any extra possessions.
Yep. Well, hey, that's going to be the end of it. I do want to make one final thing, that we were able to knock them out of their offensive game plan pretty early, or at least midway through the third quarter. So that was encouraging. Props to Mizzou. They are better than their 4-6 record.
They are
better than the 4-6.
They sure are.
They are not what their record says that they are. So doesn't mean I like Eli Drinkwitz.
No, I respect him a little bit more, but still don't like him. I noticed him over there, and I ain't gonna lie, his shoes were clean, but all I could hear every time I saw him, squatted down like he's about to go in for the play. I'm like, yeah, he's going to talk about these shoes to recruit tonight, and that already annoys me.
That's hilarious. Hey, thank you so much for spending your time with us. This has been an OrangeCast brought to you by Pandemonium Reigns. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you hate us, you will not do that. You will not like the button. You will not subscribe. You will not do that if you hate us. But if you love us, you will. I'm going to need Penny Walker to pick her game back up and start telling all of her friends, right?
Yeah.
Get us some momentum again. We are so close to that 1,000 download marker. And it would so help us if you guys would just like and subscribe to the video. Tell somebody right now. Pull over if you're driving.
Pandemonium
Text somebody
Reigns.
and say, you got to listen to Pandemonium Reigns. Because Mike is a beautiful man and Dan is a hillbilly. So, with that said, we love you guys. Have a fantastic week wherever you are. God bless and go Bulls.
Video.
Pandemonium Reigns.